They say a child doesn't remember the moment they understood what money meant, but they do remember the feeling, the tightness in the room when bills were mentioned, the way the light in their parents' eyes dimmed when asked for new shoes, the silence at the dinner table when the food was just enough, but never more. That's when poverty starts to make its imprint, not as a number in a bank account, but as a slow, invisible lesson in limitation. Rafiq, born in a small, sun-soaked village on the outskirts of nowhere. His father, a carpenter with splinters in his palms and debts in his name. His mother, a woman with quiet strength who could turn lentils and silence into a meal that almost filled the belly. Rafiq was a curious child. He used to stare at the sky and wonder how the clouds floated so freely while his family felt so stuck. He asked once, "Why don't we just move somewhere better?" His father, after a long pause, said, "Because, son, the world doesn't work like that for people like us." That sentence lingered. People like us. It was the first brick laid in the wall that would eventually surround Rafiq's ambitions. In school, he was bright, exceptionally so, but even brilliance can dim under the weight of a broken system. Teachers noticed his spark but didn't have the tools to fan it. He once scored top marks on a district test, but he couldn't attend the next round because the bus fare to the city cost more than what his father made in 2 days. So Rafiq did what most kids like him do. He learned to stop asking. He grew older and quieter. He started working with his father at 13, sanding wood and inhaling sawdust instead of dreams. His hands became rough. His imagination shrunk to fit the size of his neighborhood. But deep down, there was a soft ember still burning, a voice that whispered, "This isn't all there is." The architecture of poverty. Poverty isn't just a lack of money, it's the absence of options. It's waking up each day with your energy focused not on growth, not on dreams, but on survival. When you're poor, your mind lives in the moment. Not the joyful kind, more like the emergency room kind. It's hypervigilant, always calculating, always afraid. There's a concept in psychology called cognitive bandwidth. It means the mental energy you have to think, decide, and act. Poverty eats it like a parasite. When your brain is busy worrying about rent, food, transport, broken shoes, or a sick relative, you don't have the bandwidth to think about the long term. You don't make bad choices because you're stupid. You make them because you're exhausted. You're cornered. You're trying to do algebra with the weight of anxiety pressing down on your chest. And so the cycle continues. There are inheritances we don't list in wills. Fear, self-doubt, a scarcity mindset. These pass down just as reliably as family heirlooms. A child raised in poverty often inherits a nervous system attuned to lack. They learn that money is always a problem, that comfort is dangerous because it never lasts, that any gain is temporary, that rich people are different, that success is a fluke, not a path. And this isn't just emotional, it's biological. Studies show that prolonged exposure to financial stress can rewire a child's brain. It affects memory, attention, even impulse control. When your nervous system is trained to brace for disappointment, hope starts to feel like a setup. So the generational curse isn't just that you're poor, it's that you start to believe you're meant to be. Society has a neat little trick. It blames the poor for being poor, while ignoring the systems that designed the trap. We talk about personal responsibility, as if a single mother working 2 jobs should also have time to master financial literacy, write a business plan, meditate, exercise, and still show up smiling. We celebrate the outliers, those who made it out, as proof that anyone can. But we never ask, why do only a few make it? What was in their environment that helped them jump the gap? What invisible hands held them up when they could have fallen? We make poverty a morality tale, a story about laziness, but the truth is far darker and more complex. The curse lives in the subconscious. Imagine you grow up in a house where every request is met with, "We can't afford that." Over time, your mind starts to associate desire with denial. You stop asking, not just others, but even yourself. You learn not to want too much, not to dream too loud. This becomes your baseline, your subconscious, and even when, by some miracle or effort, you start earning more. You self-sabotage. You undercharge. You overspend. You avoid risks. You fear success because deep down, it feels like a betrayal of your roots, or you believe it's borrowed time before it all falls apart. That's the curse, not just poverty itself, but the mental residue it leaves behind. The unseen wars. There's a quote that says, "The poor fight battles the rich don't even know exist." Like the battle of deciding whether to eat lunch or save that money for a bus ride. The battle of choosing between medicine and electricity. The battle of pretending you're okay when you're wearing your brother's hand-me-down shoes with cardboard inside because the soles are torn. These small daily humiliations, they shape you, not into resilience, but into numbness, into silence, into learned helplessness. It becomes a language you speak to yourself. You can't have that. You don't deserve more. This is just how it is. And when you grow up and enter a world where others seem to have access to everything so easily, you carry shame, a silent shame that says, "I must be broken," when in reality, you were just born into a war you never enlisted for. But there's another side, the illusion of escape. Breaking free from poverty isn't just about earning more money. That's a surface-level solution to a soul-level problem. You can move out of the slums and still carry the slum in your mind. You can earn 6 figures and still flinch every time the cashier reads the total. You can dress up success in a suit and still feel like an imposter when you walk into a room full of educated people. This is the part no one tells you about escaping poverty. The ghost follows you. It lingers in your thoughts, in your instincts. When you've lived for years being told you can't, even freedom feels like a lie. You second-guess every good thing. You question your right to peace, and sometimes you sabotage it, just to feel familiar again. Because here's the painful truth. People don't crave happiness. They crave familiarity. And if chaos was your childhood, you'll recreate it unconsciously over and over until you realize it's not your fate. It's just your pattern. The role of shame. There's a moment in every poor person's life when they realize they are poor, and it is almost never because of something internal. It's almost always an interaction. A birthday party they couldn't attend because they couldn't afford a gift, a school trip missed, a uniform that didn't fit, a lunchbox that looked different. That moment crystallizes into shame. Shame is more than embarrassment. It's an identity wound. It whispers, there's something wrong with you. You are less. And when you carry that into adulthood, it shows up in dangerous ways. You settle for less in relationships. You don't negotiate your worth. You feel like you need to prove yourself constantly. Or worse, you stop trying altogether. This is the curse that something as external as money becomes something as internal as self-worth. The lies we're told. Work hard and you'll succeed. That's the lie sold to the poor like a lottery ticket. Hard work matters, but let's be honest, hard work is not equally rewarded. A domestic worker scrubs floors all day and goes home with aching joints. A hedge fund manager moves numbers and earns more in an hour than she does in a year. The system isn't broken, it was built like this. So telling someone in generational poverty that they just need to hustle more is not only dishonest, it's cruel. What they need is access, mentorship, opportunity, healing, language, time, space to dream without guilt. But above all, they need the permission to believe that it's possible. So how do you break the generational curse of being poor? You start by understanding that it's not just about money. It's about the mental infrastructure that poverty builds. And to break it, you need to rebuild that infrastructure, thought by thought, belief by belief. Here's how. 1. Awareness. You can't change what you don't name. Begin by noticing the narratives you inherited. Money is evil. People like us can't succeed. We're not meant for more. Are they true, or are they just old hand-me-downs from those who are trying to survive? 2. Healing shame. Talk about it, write about it, share your story. Shame only grows in silence. When you give voice to your experience, it loses power. You realize you're not alone, and you were never the problem. 3. Rewiring the mind. This isn't motivational fluff. Neuroscience shows that repeated thoughts create neural pathways. You have to build new ones. Practice gratitude even when it's hard. Imagine abundance even when it feels fake. Speak possibility even when your reality contradicts it. Over time, your mind adapts. 4. Financial literacy. Poverty thrives in confusion. Learn how money works, not just how to earn it, but how to manage, grow, and protect it. Not because money will save you, but because understanding it removes its power to control you. 5. Find your people. Healing is not a solo mission. Surround yourself with others on the same path. Community builds momentum. When you see someone like you rise, it creates a mirror. If they can, maybe I can too. What would the world look like if the poor weren't busy surviving? What inventions are buried in the minds of children who don't have internet access? What art have we lost because someone's light was dimmed too soon? The curse of poverty isn't just individual, it's societal. We all lose when talent is stifled. We all suffer when innovation is locked behind economic bars. And we all have a role in either reinforcing that prison or tearing it down. You are not your paycheck. You are not your upbringing. You are not the shame passed down to you. You are a story waiting to be rewritten. Breaking the generational curse isn't just about rising above. It's about reaching back and lifting others with you. It's about turning trauma into testimony, pain into power, limitation into liberation, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Because every cycle broken becomes a legacy rewritten. Because somewhere, a child is watching you, the way you once watched someone and wondered if more was possible. Be the proof they're looking for.